Hi everyone, Cindy Turner here, and I'm the creator of Evolving Women. And today I have the lovely Erin Ashley with me. Erin is a yoga, mindfulness, and meditation teacher, and she's a lady that I've met through an introduction from another gorgeous soul. And we've just had the pleasure of having a girls' weekend together with a number of spiritual business owners here on the Sunshine Coast. So I got to know Erin even more through that, and I'm just delighted to have her here today. In the hot seat, so to speak. Hello, Erin, and welcome.
Hi, Cindy. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd love to start with, tell us a little bit about your background. How have you come to be in this moment now? So what's a bit about your work history or your personal history, whatever you feel to share today?
Yeah, good. After school ended up in the hospitality industry. So, it was quite social, having a bit of fun, but formally studied hospitality. Like I thought hotel management, restaurants, this was going to be it for me. And really what that gave me was a job that I could do when I decided it was time for me to travel. So having grown up in Melbourne for the first 18 years of my life, I wanted something more. I was looking for something bigger. So after a stint in hospitality, I thought, I want to travel around Australia and just see what more is out there for me. So after traveling for a month and totally running out of money, I needed to find a job, and hospitality was like my saving grace. I landed a job on the beautiful Hayman Island in the Great Barrier Reef, and right in the heart of, this amazing ecosystem, which is the only living organism to be seen by the moon, from the moon, in fact. And so discovering the underwater world then allowed me to take a changing course of my career. I studied marine science so I could stay underwater for longer, for 4 years. And as part of that choice and that degree, I ended up in the USA, in Miami, studying at the Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Science in Florida. What's that?
With the alligators.
With the alligators. I was telling you that story over the weekend. I went diving in the Everglades in a fresh spring-fed lake with 2 alligators, and it was a nighttime dive. And I flashed my torch around the edge of the lake and just see the red eyes, and then I went under with complete trust and faith, and was able to overcome some fear there. So feel the fear and do it anyway.
Love that.
My degree in marine science landed me work with government back in Australia, so environmental management. And so I worked in that field for 9 years. But yoga and, mindfulness is the overarching theory of yoga. They're the principles that yogis really live by, and attitudes and qualities. And of course, meditation's part of yoga. So yoga had always been a part of my life since uni days, the beginning of uni days when I was 20. And after 9 years of working, in that environmental management, marine resource management field, it was just becoming stronger and stronger to me, the power and the practice of yoga. And in particular, I'd had a life experience where the hot, hunky Latin American man that I'd met back in Miami days, who came to be my husband, I roped him to coming back to Australia. We had 2 gorgeous daughters, and when our second daughter was just 4 months old, after we'd been together for 8 years, married for 6 years, he died really suddenly one day, very unexpectedly, and we never found out the reason why he died. And this was a time in my life when I was really asked to, uphold what I had learned through my yoga and mindfulness and meditation practice. And it was profoundly healing, because it asked me to lean into everything that was unfolding, all the uncomfortableness and the unpleasantness and the grief and the stress, to be there and sit there with it. And this was really healing, not only for me, but the way that I was able to help my daughters through that time. And to this very day, they're 10 and 14 now. And we continue to work through it with their different brain developmental stages and levels of awareness. So this one is why I really became so passionate about yoga and went on to learn to teach it, and have been doing so since 2013 for 6+ years now.
Would you say, Erin, that there's been someone that you look up to or you're inspired by in the field of yoga and mindfulness? Is there someone that really sort of maybe turned the idea on in you that inspired you to come into this space?
It was initially, for my own personal practice of yoga, it was my girlfriends that inspired me to go to my first ever yoga class. So that was an Ashtanga yoga studio. We did one class as a uni student, the other one was a teacher, and the other one was a vet. We all decided we couldn't afford to keep going to this studio, so we all started teaching ourselves together in a local park every Wednesday night.
Great.
Saved ourselves, $15 a class or whatever it is. Interestingly enough, I did my yoga teacher training in 2013. The teacher did it the following year, and the vet did it the following year. We're all yoga teachers now, 20 years on. When I did my yoga teacher training, though, it was my teacher at the time and mentor, Tammy Williams, who was a huge, huge inspiration for me. And it was an intuitive decision to sign up for this teacher training. It was thousands of dollars. I was a single mum at the time. It was a real stretch for me to do it, but it was a very big yes for me to do it. And I did it while I was continuing to work, part-time and parent 2 children. But it was just undeniable. I'd never even met Tammy. It was based on a gut decision. I had one short conversation with her over the phone. Big yes, followed through. She ended up, she still to this day is a massive inspiration for me.
So you really trust your intuition and followed that in terms of moving in that direction and studying with her.
Yeah, it's never steered me wrong. And the question, I didn't know it back then, but the question that I've come to ask these days to tap into whether that's a big yes or a big no is, does it feel constrictive or does it feel expansive? And you don't need to know the logistics of it or the steps of what's ahead. Just that simple question, follow it if it feels expansive. Like if you get the tingles or feel it on a big breath in, but and it has to be a quick decision. Like you can't go, okay, does it feel expansive? And it's a yes. Oh, but hang on, there was something there that came in. Like that's just a doubt. And I say, doubt your doubts. Go with the first gut feeling.
Oh, I love that. So you can almost feel it in your body, like constricting you versus expanding you.
Yes, this is a very embodied response. You're exactly right. And that's really embodying decisions, feeling. My husband Curek says, he's a success coach. He says, we think to create, we feel to decide. So we can create all sorts of pros and cons and outcomes, and thinking is very essential to creation in life, yet the feeling is where the decision comes from. This is a very embodied experience as a human being, So in yoga, we use our body and our breath to uncover those deeper parts of us, the mental layers, wisdom layers, and self-realization, and connected to universal layers. The very first step, though, is to get in touch with your body and your breath. And this is where, decisions come from that are soul-led decisions, like purposeful decisions.
So what are the different elements or aspects of your business at the moment, the Erin Ashley brand?
Well, the foundation for me is teaching live yoga classes. And so I've committed to teaching weekly classes in my local community here on the Sunshine Coast. One is at a world-leading Buddhist institute. It's the largest one outside of Tibet in the Western world, Chenrezig Institute. And the other is alongside Kanara in Forest Glen, if you're familiar with the Sunshine Coast area, at a place called Fresh Holistic Health Centre. So I teach those weekly classes as it feels like showing up and being with live students and being able to read them. And I love working on an energetic level, allows me to continue to learn and grow in my teaching itself. And on top of the weekly classes, then I hold retreats, like a yoga mindfulness meditation retreat in Byron Bay on an annual basis, and then retreats together with my husband, the Find Your Fire retreats 3 times a year on North Stradbroke Island. There's yoga and mindfulness and meditation as part of that. And then I get asked often to teach at festivals like the Woodford Folk Festival and Yoga Fests, and, you know, for corporations and all sorts of interesting projects. And what I've done as well in recent years, because I've been asked a lot about how, instead of coming to a class with me live or showing up live, how can people ask me, how can I still engage with you, Erin? So I've developed some online material as well and resources.
Great. We'll come to that in just a moment. But I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the superpower within you that has helped you to have the success you've got to today?
It's remembering that I'm breathing in and out. It's as simple as that. And that's behind those intuitive decisions. It's behind any decision that I've made that's led me on a path of evolution. It starts with just knowing that I'm breathing in and breathing out. So my breath is my superpower.
Mm-hmm. And having spent a weekend with you just gone, you know, you totally embody that. You were so centered and so grounded in who you are. It was absolutely beautiful to be in your presence. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Cindy. I feel totally the same way about you. You're a big inspiration for me.
Thank you. So I'm super excited to know more about the 8-week online program that you've created and will be showcasing on Evolving Women. What is it called? And tell us a bit about it.
It's called Mindfulness Meditation, Transforming Stress into Peace. And, you know, meditation can sound all good and well and kumbaya. It's really the transforming stress into peace part that I've created this course for, because I see so much suffering around. I experience suffering, and this really is stress. So stress is like the #1 killer on the planet, and it's behind so much other dis-ease, like dis-ease, not being at ease or peaceful, you're in dis-ease. And so the course goes for 8 weeks, and I've done that. Like, I could throw out all the content there at you straight away, yet the time for integration over the 8 weeks is what's really important, so that you can not just sit there and discover these lessons and insights, but that you can apply it in your everyday life. And I'm really big on that. Like, I see students coming to yoga class, doing their practice for an hour on the mat, and then, you know, maybe getting up and getting frustrated by the same things, annoyed by the same things, people getting annoyed by someone coming in late to the class, jiggling keys. You know, this is where the yoga really starts off the mat, and where the mindfulness and meditation really, they're just tools for you to go about the other 23 hours of your day and live in peace and harmony. So the course teaches mindfulness and meditation tools and strategies that are going to help you to integrate these new habits into your everyday life. The 8 weeks is for that purpose as well, because that's really the minimal time frame to do a new habit for that period of time, for it to have a long lasting change in your life. So meditation, mindfulness, really comes in 2 parts. The formal practice is meditation, and then the other practice is perspective and everyday life application. And so in the 8-week course, it's teaching you how to meditate. Even if you already know how to meditate, there's parts of this that are going to be new for you. And we can never reestablish our foundations enough, I say. You know, it's building the brick on the house to make sure it's stable. You have to maintain the house, right? There's always something to do around the house to maintain it. You'd know that, living on property, Cindy. Never ending. So this work is never ending, and just continually fine tuning the way that we operate in life. This is what meditation's great for. We just head in, fine tune, become aware of what we're getting present to and how we're showing up on a daily basis, and then taking skillful action based on our knowledge.
So you touched on before, Erin, that you see a lot of suffering around you and in the world today. I'm wondering for our listeners whether you could articulate how that may play out for some people, because I think sometimes people are on this treadmill and they're just going, 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 and maybe completely unaware to the fact that they are in a state of suffering or stress. How do you see it playing out?
Suffering really comes from when we think something should be one way and it's another. So it comes from a resistance with what is in this exact present moment, in this reality. For example, say we're having an interview like this, Cindy, and the internet has a little moment and it goes a little fuzzy. If we get really agitated by that, think that it should be really clear reception, start blaming Telstra or whoever it is, then we're in resistance to exactly what is. But if we are able to just allow for the unfolding of the internet, however it plays out, and be at peace with that, that is the end of suffering in that moment. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do things or have goals or want to improve situations. It's just about first noticing. There's really 3 steps here. The first is noticing, watching it unfold, and remaining neutral or equanimous. So, you know, we notice the distilled internet reception and we just embrace impermanence, notice that this is coming up, and remain neutral about it. Isn't that interesting? I like to say, isn't that interesting that the internet's gone out again? I live on property too. Then that buys you a pause, that buys you a space to make a decision from that comes from an intentional place. Like when you remember that in life your intention is peace and harmony and joy and you just want to be happy, you can make a decision that's backed with that attitude. Rather than something coming up, you think it should be different and you go into reactivity mode that comes out of our old habitual conditioned patterns.
It was like the expression we heard on the weekend, wasn't it? Don't panic, it's organic. And the more we can just accept and respond to what is, rather than trying to change that or have expectations that are never going to be achieved, it's a lot better pathway to peace, isn't it?
It really is. And, you know, we were having a discussion earlier about how this all sounds good, but sometimes it just feels non-productive. And like, am I really going to get anything done if I just like sit back and accept life how it is and let whatever comes, you know? No, that's not the point to it. The point is to be really certain in your intention in life. Get really clear on what you do value. First, kindness, compassion, service, you know, what really is your life purpose? Big question. When you are clear on that though, even if it's just in this moment, doesn't have to be for the rest of your life, even if you choose abundance, you know, wealth, whatever it is, once you're clear on that, then you're able to kind of measure life up against that purpose that you value so much. So when stuff does come up and happen, you can notice it, watch it unfold, remain neutral, realign it with your intention. Okay, so that's happened. Now where to from here? This piece of the puzzle is like a saving grace in relationships, let me tell you, where you can come out of reactivity, just put some space around the hard edges and judgments and choose a new response.
Love that. So the 8-week online course will help equip people to take on some new tools, some new perspectives that will help guide them through their daily experience of life.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll be practicing, you know, meditation and the, you know, techniques and setting up a space for it and making that part of the consistent practice. And I deliver new audios to you each week and coaching audios to listen to in the car or while you're doing whatever around the house. And then we also put lessons into action in our everyday life. Like there's a journal, for example, for you to notice and track things as you go along in life. And so at the end of the 8-week course, in fact, at the 6-week point, we undertake a review to see, you know, what difference has this really made after 6 weeks? Because this is something that you need to give it a go for the 8 weeks. See if it actually does create change in your life. And if it does, and it's positive change and empowering change and for the better for you, then you can decide, you know, I can continue with this. But I say to everybody, give it a go. Like if you realize that after 8 weeks, this just isn't for you, well, then it's not. But I haven't had one person yet come out with zero benefit from a practice of mindfulness yet. So give it a go. Let me know if you're the first one. And I'm really interested to hear that. I really would be.
Yeah. What worked and what didn't work for you?
Yeah.
So, Erin, how can people find out more about you and where to find you if they wanted to come to one of your classes or retreats?
The best place is my website, erinashley.com.au. And the details about the classes, retreats, and online resources. There's even some free information on there as well, resources for you. That's the best place to start, I say.
Great. And I'll also be promoting your retreats as well on Evolving Women, so they can keep in touch that way as well.
Oh, great. Thanks, Cindy.
Great. Thank you so much for your time today, Erin. It's been a fabulous chat. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.